Let's talk to Ben Reitzes, head of tech research at Melius. Buy rating 300 on Nvidia. Before we get to it, I did want to just start with Alphabet. You cover that as well.
Yep.
Move up has been extraordinary in the stock price just in the last 3 days, let alone the last month. Gemini 3, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it at all, but give me your take and whether or not this move up is justified on hopes for that latest version.
Well, I was impressed by it. I think it's a big leap from the prior models, and it showed a bigger than expected leap in some of the performance benchmarks. And when they put out the users for 650 million users of the Gemini app, I think that was better than expected as well. And OpenAI is at around 800, the last disclosure. It's probably higher than that nicely now. But as they close that gap, that's good for the stock. That's going to pop the stock. But I did want to also mention that Broadcom's a big winner because they make the TPUs, and clearly the differentiation of having your own silicon and investing in your own infrastructure is helping Google. And it's been an amazing run. I think, search has obviously still some problems potentially. I know the numbers have been okay, but they're looking like they're a Gemini and cloud company that happens to sell search. And that was the part we wish we were more bullish on. Yeah, well, I've made the point many times. A year ago, many of us and many in the investment community were sort of wondering, God, is there a monopoly in search really under siege? And here we are. And of course, I've also talked about those TPUs because it gives them an advantage on a cost per token per dollar per watt basis versus the others. Which gets you back to Nvidia, by the way. Well, we'll get to Nvidia, but look, we're recommending Broadcom as well. But really bullish on that.
I remember when you did write, no kid Gemini's their homework, and you raised the prospect, if OpenAI starts an advertising arm, that could really get spicy.
I think that's still ahead of us, but what's happened is Google has done a really good job in cloud and even YouTube, Waymo, and people are realizing it was the cheapest of the Mag 7s. Potentially now, in this euphoria, it might be time for some other names like Microsoft to finally start to perform again. It had a good first half. But a lot of times these things go in waves. I mean, the wave in Alphabet was very violently to the upside in the third quarter into this quarter. So kudos to them. And I still think search is a business that needs to transform, but clearly they're doing a lot of other things.
So, Ben, as far as Nvidia earnings tonight, is the key question around this stock now the sustainability of the boom, the spending, and what long-term projections look like?
Well, the key theme tonight, and I'm surprised nobody's talking about it, is re-acceleration. Actually, their data center business took a little bit of a dip on the growth rate and is set to re-accelerate, potentially as high as 60% plus. And I think people aren't talking about that enough because that should continue into the fourth quarter with hyperscaler orders and sovereign orders. So I think business is pretty robust there, and it could re-accelerate on the data center revenue growth. That's what we want to see. Investors generally pay for that. Stock's taken a beating a little bit from the high, so it feels like a lot of bad news might be in this thing. And I think people are going to need Jensen to really explain this circular deal mentality, because I don't think it's stopping anytime soon. So he's going to have to. He's tons of cash coming.
And so he's using a lot of it to invest in companies that then turn around and buy his product.
And I thought
but when you say explain it, what do you mean?
Well, I think that people just need to be. This isn't something you can just say we're going to invest in our ecosystem and then people are like, oh, cool, I get it. Like, no, there's this fear of circular deals. So we need to have him explain very thoroughly, like, look, we're going to, over the next 10 quarters, we think they generate $600 billion in cash. They can only buy back so much stock. So that means hundreds of billions can go into this ecosystem. So he's a steward of this cash. So you can't just say we're going to invest in the ecosystem. Like, he needs to say, hey, look, we're going to, what's his methodology maybe a little bit more, how he thinks these things will return, how he's seeing usage of AI so that he knows it's a good investment. And I just think that this isn't the kind of thing you gloss over.
Do you think he is done trying to influence China hawks?
I think I'm done writing about it.
Yeah.
I've spent enough ink on that where it wasn't worth it. I think that the China situation is unfortunate. I just feel like we got to move on. I think the issue right now is, can the orders be made up for by Saudi? Like, he was just here. And those deals need to come through to fill the void of what the buy side had in their hopeful models.
Well, Jensen was at the dinner at the White House last night. Maybe that's a good sign.
He's doing a good job there.
And
he's doing a good job with Trump, but, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it. I hope he does talk more about the circularity side of things. It's fascinating.
Yeah. I'm excited. Big night.
Big night. Always appreciate your coming on before. Thanks,
It's
Ben.
always a pleasure. You guys are great.